Hey everyone, this is Miss Story, and I'm going to talk to you about the rhetorical situation. And this may sound sort of familiar to you if you've ever heard of a rhetorical question. Of course, a rhetorical question is when a person asks a question and they are not expecting you to respond, but they are expecting you to think about what their response to the question might be. Rhetorical comes from this word rhetoric. And rhetoric is the ability in each case to see all of the available means of persuasion. And this definition goes all the way back to ancient Greece, to Aristotle. And this is about persuasion. It's about trying to get someone to agree with you. And we all know that there are plenty of situations where we want for other people to agree with us. Maybe we want someone, our friend, to watch the same movie that we want to watch, or maybe we want for our parents to let us go do something. So being persuasive has a lot of benefits in our society, and there are ways to do it well and to do it nobly, and there are ways to do it negatively. You may have heard some politicians being called out for using divisive rhetoric. Okay, and that's just because the kinds of rhetoric that they're using is harmful or causing more division than it is bringing people together. So today we are going to look at how to identify the rhetorical situation. It's useful to identify the rhetorical situation of a text because it can help you understand why the speakers or writers use the persuasive techniques they used. So I'm going to go with this definition of the rhetorical situation, and if you have a place to take notes, jot this down. The rhetorical situation is often defined as the context in which writing takes place. This can include the purpose. Why is a person writing? The audience. Who are they writing for? The genre. Is this going to be a speech? Is this going to be an essay? Is it a letter? The stance. What position are they taking? What is their attitude towards the subject? And the medium. The medium could be, is it a text, or maybe it's a cartoon, or maybe it's a video, or a photograph. So the medium of an argument can take a couple different forms too. The rhetorical situation can also include the conversation, the debate, the problem, whatever else is motivating a piece of writing. And because the truth is, none of us really are going to write outside of an English class, let's say. We're not going to write, we're not going to argue unless we're provoked to do so. And I think that our best writing is going to come from something that we care about, something that we are motivated to write about. And so the rhetorical situation takes into account all of those factors of what is really motivating a piece of writing. Our objective in this lesson is to simply identify the components of the rhetorical situation and explain how they influence a writer's creation of a text. So we're going to do this in a couple of ways. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to use a cool little trick called soapstone. And I'm going to show you the soapstone graphic organizer. This is this guy right here. And you can see that there's an acronym, and the acronym stands for speaker, the voice that is telling the story, occasion, the time, the place, the situation, the context in which the author is writing, the audience, who is the intended audience for the piece, the purpose, why is the author writing, the subject, this is just kind of the main idea of the article, and then the tone, what is the feeling or the manner of expression used by the author. We also say that the tone is the speaker's attitude towards the subject. And so this can be positive, it can be lighthearted, it can be neutral, it can be joking, it can be critical. So there are numerous tones that a speaker could take. So that is soapstone. So what you're going to do is you are going to use soapstone graphic organizer, and I'm going to walk you through how to identify the rhetorical situation of Lou Gehrig's farewell to baseball speech. And once you get the hang of this, so you're going to download this graphic organizer that I just showed you, right? And then you're going to fill it out as I explain it in the videos. And then you are going to apply it yourself using the same graphic organizer, soapstone, but you're going to do it this time for the Declaration of Independence. And, Lou Gehrig's speech is pretty straightforward and somewhat simple. The Declaration of Independence is longer, it's more complex, it is obviously weighty, very weighty. So these are the two things that you are going to turn in. These are your tasks. So the first one, I'm going to show you how to do this. You're going to follow along with me and take notes. The second one, you are going to do this one on your own. Before we get started too much, I want to explain what the rhetorical triangle is. So both the rhetorical triangle and the acronym soapstone are tools to help you understand the rhetorical situation of a text. So here's the rhetorical triangle, and you can see there is a triangle here in the middle. This is really it's just a symbol to help you understand how these ideas relate to each other. At the top, you have the speaker, then you have the subject or the topic, and then you have the audience or the reader. And I really feel like the audience is super important in terms of designing or creating or inventing a piece of writing. Because if you think about this, think about how different you tell something to your friend versus how you talk to your teacher versus how you talk to your parents. Okay, like let's just say that you had this really funny but kind of embarrassing thing that happened, and you're going to tell your best friend about it, and you're going to dramatize the story, and you are going to use slang and words that your friend really understands and can relate to. You're not going to leave any details out, right? But when you go to tell your teacher or your parent, you're going to change which information you give. You might leave a little bit of information out there. You might just kind of give them the highlights or the things that you think they want to know about. You're probably not going to use that slang. So the message could be the same, but the way that you tell it is different, right? That's what the rhetorical situation, the rhetorical triangle is all about. It's about the way these different factors interact with each other to create a different presentation of the message. All right, so we've got our soapstone there. So I want to take just a second before we read Lou Gehrig's Farewell to Baseball and before we try to analyze the rhetorical situation, I just want to tell you a little bit about who he is. So he is a baseball player. You can see this picture of him, and he is playing for the New York Yankees, and he gives this speech at an appreciation day that is held in his honor on July 4th, 1939. Now, Gehrig had recently learned that he was suffering from ALS. And if you're familiar with this, you know that it is a neurological disorder that doesn't have a cure and is known today as Lou Gehrig's disease. Although Gehrig was a reluctant speaker, the fans' chant of "We want Lou" brought him to the podium to deliver one of the most powerful and heartfelt speeches of all time.
Milestones of the century. This is the Iron Horse, the pride of the Yankees, Lou Gehrig. Here's Lou as a kid with the great Babe Ruth when he first came to the Yanks. Lou came to the Bronx Bombers directly from Columbia University, where he made the lion roar for 4 years as a student and athlete. Lou could hit and he could run. In this great shot, he homers to bring in Babe Ruth, who was his idol. Lou was a ball player's ball player. He gripped the bat through a record-breaking 2,170 consecutive games. A real pro, his batting stance was acclaimed by the old-timers and copied by the youngsters. His follow-through, in life as well as in athletics, made him one of the most idolized sports figures of the century. He played first base as no other man ever has in the history of the Yankees. This is a perfect example of how Lou covered the bag and followed the runner trying to get the jump on his pitcher. Lou's reach on the low ones, when it counted, made him a real Yankee Stadium hero. He was a big man, but he moved with the agility of a phantom. He broke up an all-star game with his batting power, as demonstrated in this shot from the Pathé film vaults. His own personal motto, "Don't quit," was embossed on a plaque presented to him at Lou Gehrig's farewell day at the stadium. Here he is with his buddy, the great Bambino. Jim Farley presided over the presentation to Lou Gehrig. New York's Mayor LaGuardia, another fan of Lou's, was there to shake the Iron Man's hand. This was Lou's farewell to baseball in his beloved Yankee Stadium.
Jay, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. But I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Thank you.
Stricken with a rare disease, Lou retired never to return and never to be replaced. His number 4 resides now at Cooperstown, New York, in baseball's Hall of Fame. This is Lou Gehrig, the pride of the Yankees, a man who stands proudly among the sports milestones of the century.
Lou Gehrig's farewell to baseball. Fans, for the past 2 weeks you have been reading about a bad break I got. Yet today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. I have been in ballparks for 17 years and have never received anything but kindness and encouragement from you fans. Look at these grand men. Which of you wouldn't consider it the highlight of his career just to associate with them for even one day? Sure, I'm lucky. Who wouldn't consider it an honor to have known Jacob Ruppert, also the builder of baseball's greatest empire, Ed Barrow? To have spent 6 years with that wonderful little fellow, Miller Huggins, then to have spent the next 9 years with that outstanding leader, that smart student of psychology, the best manager in baseball today, Joe McCarthy. Sure, I'm lucky. When the New York Giants, a team you would give your right arm to beat and vice versa, sends you a gift, that's something. When everybody, down to the groundskeepers and those boys in white coats, remember you with trophies, that's something. When you have a wonderful mother-in-law who takes sides with you and squabbles with her own daughter, that's something. When you have a father and mother who work all their lives so you can have an education and build your body, it's a blessing. When you have a wife who has been a tower of strength and shown more courage than you dreamed existed, that's the finest I know. So I close in saying that I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for.